Hey, it's Jason from QueenRightDial and Bohemia Apiary, and we're going to show you how you can take these mating indicators and double your apiary in early May or early spring, wherever you're located. Stay tuned. We're going to show you how to do that. Okay, so everybody likes to have more bees, and everybody doesn't like to pay for bees. So one of the things that we like to do in early spring is split. We have a lot of colonies, as you can see, at least on this bench, and several yards. We got a couple hundred actually total, but let's just assume that these three colonies right here are really these three and two others, one that's over there and one that's over on a card over there. Let's just assume those are the 5 colonies you have. And let's say they were splits that you made, or they were overwintered colonies. Regardless of where they came from, it is now May, the beginning of May. And in May, you want to take and use the resources that are available to you. We are in a heavy flow. And what does a heavy flow mean? Well, it's the nectar flow that occurs here, at least on the eastern shore of Maryland. If you look back in the background back here, these trees you see behind me, there's black locust, and they're still in bloom. And we've had a couple days of rain off and on, and so the bees are very heavily working that black locust. And probably in another week or so, the black locust will be gone. And the tulip poplars that are over there and spread around, they'll bloom. Then after that, then the clover, lavender, and so on and so forth. But right now, in beekeeping in this early spring, or really kind of mid to early spring here on the eastern shore of Maryland, you actually have, you cannot, I wouldn't say make any mistakes. You can make mistakes in your apiary, but it's very hard to make a mistake because you can recover from it. That's what I mean. So we're going to do something that works very well for us if you don't have the ability to graft or have access to queens. Now we do here, we graft our own queens at Bohemia Apiary. We do put cells in, we do various other things throughout the year to make splits, to make spring splits, and that's already being done. But for the beekeeper out there that's not confident in how to do that, the walkaway split is the best split you can do in early spring, because you really can't make a mistake, because if you realize that you did make a mistake, you can always combine it back. You can always do something later to correct that mistake, and you're still not too far gone. So the game plan is to take these 3 hives and 2 others, the equipment in the back of that truck, which happens to be the 7-frame Apimaye, and I love the 7-frame Apimaye personally. I got a comment in one of the Apimaye videos we've done, put a link in the description below, that do more Apimaye videos. Well, I don't really have a lot to do with Apimaye videos because it's basically equipment like any other equipment that we may use, but I do like these 7-frame nukes because you can divide them in half, right? You can really reduce down the size that the bees need. You can do like almost like a mini queen castle, because there's actually entrances on the other side if you want to turn them on. So I'm going to show you quickly how we're going to take these 3 hives, make 3 splits against them, utilize the concept of the 7-frame Apimaye nuke that you can use the other side on, and literally double these 3 and then double 2 more and build our apiary out. And then we'll use the QueenRightDial dial to show you how we monitor the progress on those splits that we make, the walkaway splits. Here we go. Let's get in. Okay, so we've got our hives set up on the bench, and we're going to reverse the splits. So we have the one here, one there, and one on the end that have the back entrances opened up, and these back entrances are closed. This is the parent hive, that's the parent hive, and that's the parent hive. And we'll do that 2 more times for our 5 to make 10, because we're going to go from 5 to 10. Okay, so we've got 2 boxes here. The one on the left is an established colony, 7 frames of bees, brood, and a queen. The one on the right is an empty box that we have a few bees that we put in there, just putting from the inner cover. We dumped them in. We have a frame of honey in there that we've left so that we can start to give them something to help establish themselves. Because remember, when we pull out of here, we're going to pull majority of the younger bees, the queen, brood, eggs, so on and so forth, and put that in the right colony. Therefore, the foragers will all go back to the left colony. So there's not going to be a lot of foragers over the next week or two or till they graduate into that job to go out and forage. So we're going to make sure that we feed that split. Over here, we're going to give them some foundation so that we can slow them down, allow them to draw out that comb from having nothing to do, and also naturally identify a 3-day-old egg. A 3-day-old egg will be what they'll turn into a queen cell, or turn and start to only feed it royal jelly and not bee bread. So once they do that, they're going to start to build queen cells. We'll check back on this within 5 to 7 days. We should find queen cells in the left colony. If we do, we'll leave them alone for a period of time using the mating indicator, and we'll look at that here once we've done our splits. We're going to do this 5 times. Well, these 3 right here we're going to split, and then we'll do 2 more. We'll do a total of 10, 5 splits. So let's get to work and moving these bees over. Okay, so we've identified our queen. There she is, walking around. She's got a green dot on her, which means that she was a last year's queen. So we're going to take her and we're going to put her over in this split. And these have a lot of eggs in it. So I'm going to actually take her off this frame and put her in here so they can leave the eggs behind so they can draw out queen cells. Okay, so we put 2 frames of brood over here and the queen. We're going to put 1 more frame of brood, and I'm going to shake bees in here, and then that will equalize the 2 hives. Majority of the foragers, though, are going to fly back to this hive, so a lot of the volume will still stay over here. Okay, so we've put this one back together. We have 4 frames of, well, really these 3 frames of brood, 2 frames here, and we'll have 7 total in here, and there'll be 6 total in here. They'll have 2 frames of resources on the outside, 1 frame of foundation that's found as combless, and then the 3 that are in here, and you can see them fanning because they know that they're queens inside this colony. So let's go ahead and close them up. Okay, so we've made our first group of splits. We got 2 more to do. You can see they're starting to settle in. Some of them are trying to figure out which one to go to. Remember, every other one is closed and open on the opposite side. So the split with the queen is actually in every other one. So the one you see here in the beginning, over here, this first one, that's full of, that's queenless, and that's queenless. Let's show you what we do with our QueenRightDial to monitor the queenless colony. Okay, so we've taken our mating dial, our QueenRight mating dial, and we placed it on the queenless colonies now. Remember, these are QueenRight because they have queens in them, and these are queenless because we removed the queen and put it into the one to the right of it. We're going to take our mating dial. It's attached to the roof. You can put it really anywhere on the hive body, but for this purpose, I like to be able to put it on the roof so I can glance to see the time. They're water resistant, fade resistant, so you don't need to worry about the weather bothering them. But we're going to go ahead and set them. They're actually already set, but today's the 6th. And you can see the 6th is when we technically have 3-day-old eggs and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-day-old eggs. We have, brood in all stages. But in order to make a queen, you have to have an egg that's 3 days old, right? That's typically when you would graft, and that's typically when you would pull in that hatched egg and graft into a cell and put it into a cell builder and so forth. But in a walkaway split, we're going to assume, worst case scenario, there's not a 3-day-old egg in here. So we're going to start the timer on the 6th. Again, there may be 3-day-old eggs already, and tomorrow they'll build queen cells out. They might build out, in 24 hours. But just for the sake of the timeline, to make sure that we are not disrupting the process, we go ahead and set this for the 6th. So that when an egg is in here that ages 3 days, they'll make a queen cell. They should know they're queenless by then. Then it'll go to the larva stage. And then by the 13th, typically around the 13th, sometimes the end of the day of the 12th, the beginning of the 14th, but around the 13th, it should be capped. Once it's capped, you want to do not disturb. Why do we say do not disturb? Because in the pupa stage, the emerging stage, especially in the mating flight stages, that's where the most critical points are for a colony or a queen that's going through that process. If you happen to rip the cell open, if you happen to tear the cell or smush the cell during the pupa stage, in the emerging stage, she could be coming out and starting to run around the hive and allowing her wings to harden and everything else before she goes to her mating flights, and you could roll her, squish her, do something. You don't want that process to stop because remember, you don't have any more 3-day-old eggs in here. This timeline's gone up here now, right? There's nobody that's laying in here and putting more eggs in the colony. So now you have your mating flights. And a lot of times with mating flights, beekeepers like to get into the hives, inspect the hives, see what's going on. It's been, several days since they had, went queenless. So they're worried about it. And they will say, oh, do I got a mated queen yet? Did she come back from mating flights? Are the cells okay? Because if you lift this lid off and the queen's flying back from her mating flight and you're standing in front of the hive, or your figure is around the hive, that's not the type of view that she was expecting to see. So she may fly to the hive to the right of it, or to the hive to the left of it. And that could disorient her. Then she could get stuck and potentially not return to the hive and then have an issue. So let's leave them alone here in the pupa stage, the emerging stage, and the mating flight stage. Really by the 29th of May, we should really start to look, and we'll probably come back at the end of May, beginning of June, and we should have a mated queen laying in this colony and start to rebound for this colony. So that's really the timeline and why the mating indicator is helpful. And we can set it different. If we happen to do our splits at a different day, on this one or this one, these happen to be all on the same day. So naturally, they're all going to be set for the 6th as eggs and eggs. Now, we will come back in these colonies in a few days to see if they have cells and if they're capped, right? So let's say we go in here in 2 or 3 days and they already have, a cell that's capped maybe. Well, they found a 3-day-old egg sooner and they've already started to build that out and they got to the cap stage sooner. So I may adjust that timeline at that point. You can do that. But for the most part, you leave them alone. And that will help you determine the timeline of the gestation cycle of that queen to be mated in your splits. Let's go ahead and work on the other two and get them labeled and marked with the QueenRightDial. And let's wrap up.
3 days later.
Okay, so we're checking back in on the colony that we had the split that was queenless. And if we look at the date, today is the 10th of May. And it should be a cell larva, or if they found a 3-day-old egg and realized they were queenless or sooner, they actually may be at the end of that cell build and about to cap it in another day or so. Let's go inside and see what we find. Okay, so the first frame we pull out, you can see they've taken that foundation, started to draw it out. They're bringing in the nectar to fill it. This is going to be foundation. This didn't have eggs on it, so we don't expect to see any cells on this frame. Let's get in the next frame. Okay, so this brood frame had eggs on it, and I want you to notice the behavior of the colony. They're queenless, and you see how they kind of like shimmy or kind of like shiver around the colony. They're almost like they're shaking. That is a sign that they are queenless, right? Because they don't feel like they have a QueenRight colony. So if you look right over here, and what do we see? There it is, a partially capped cell. And if we can look down in that, it's charged with a larva. That will be a new queen cell that will build out a new queen here in the next 2 or 3 days. We'll see it capped off. So it's working. They are queenless, and they do have a charged queen cell. Let me look for one more just to see if they have a few more. Okay, so I do want to show you this down at the bottom. This is a queen cell that must have already been started that I missed. It is now capped off. But since they were queenless, naturally they continued that process because they believed that the other part of the colony must have swarmed. We also have another cell up here at the top. So we've got a couple cells that we've got started in the colonies, and that's a good thing. I'm going to put this back gently so that we have a couple cells for them to choose from. And when that virgin queen will merge out. What I wanted to see was cells to know that they're actually making queen cells. And the fact that we see that queen cell at the bottom capped, they must have immediately started to make that or had one in progress when we pulled the queen out. So hopefully that was not because they were getting ready to swarm. Okay, so we've identified queen cells in the colony. It was a queenless colony. The split is over here. The queen's still in there. She is still doing what she needs to do. There's not a lot of foragers. There's some foragers that come out of there, but the bee volume is still low because, again, all the foragers came back. You saw how many bees were in this colony. That's because the foragers would come back. That's a good thing because you need all those resources to build queen cells and to usher in a new queen. So it's a good thing that if you're going to do an inner apiary split, you move the queen instead of leaving the queen, because then the queen can continue to lay. And while the foragers sort of kind of get backlogged, the workforce that you need to help develop those queen cells are in the host colony or the original colony, and the queen is in a new location. Now, the cool thing is we saw a queen cell and it looks like a swarm cell. That's a little bit concerning because maybe we missed that cell when we were making the split and they were already getting ready to swarm, which is not a bad thing because we did what we were supposed to do. If you see that, if we had a cell that was now capped, we've gotten our queen, we got about 40% or 50% of the bees out of the colony into a new colony split, which means we saved our queen. So what happens now is they're queenless, and if that queen merges out, she's a virgin queen, they'll get mated, come back, and start the colony here with the new queen. We're going to make an adjustment to the dial, and this is the beauty of this QueenRightDial. Right now, we saw some uncapped cells that were starting to be built out, and we know we have a capped cell, and it's the 10th. So I'm going to make one quick adjustment to this dial. Okay, so I moved the dial from where it was, the capped marking, to the 10th. So I know if they happen to be capped when I observed it, they may have capped before it, they may be just capped today, who knows when that was capped. But we know we have a capped cell, so I want to stay out of it at least until the 26th, when we'll come back in and we'll observe that we have a mated queen in this colony. So we're going to wrap this video up. There's a lot more to see. We could wait the several weeks, 16 days total from the time frame when the egg is laid, the queen cell's identified, and then she goes out on her mating flights and merges out. There's another few days there. Really, you should stay out of your colony as much as possible once you've identified a capped queen cell. When you identify a good capped queen cell in a colony, you should really kind of do not disturb for the next several weeks while the pupa stage is occurring, while they're emerging out and their wings are drying, as well as taking their mating flights and coming back mated so that they can continue on the growth of the colony. It's just why we designed the QueenRightDial, so that you can make it easy split in your apiary. Not everybody has these 7-frame Apimaye nukes, but everybody does have at least some woodenware, whether it's a 10-frame woodenware or 5-frame or 8-frame, whatever you're using equipment-wise. This split does not require you to have the Apimaye, but the Apimaye do make it nice because of the way they're designed. You can lock them, you can actually move them if you need to, things like that. So I really like these 7-frame, and they have the backs on them that you can open and close, like we did on the other side of the apiary, where we have the nukes that are flipped, the new entrances to the opposite side, which kind of what happened here, but we actually put it in the box and put the entrance forward down here. Either way, that has the versatility in the back of that to do that. That's why I like the 7-frame nukes. I'll put a link in the description below to the Apimaye equipment that we use here, that you see in this video, but it's not necessary. Also put a link in the description below to the QueenRightDial. The mating dial is a great way for you to take 5 colonies and turn them into 10 using the calculator. And now, the one thing good about it is that this colony over here, because we have a capped queen cell and we haven't looked at the other 5 again, we can go back. This one may be on a different trajectory than that one, or those 4. And that's key why the mating dial, you make those adjustments and you kind of track the progress of the gestation cycle of the queen bee to ensure when you get back to becoming queen right again. And that's the purpose of the QueenRightDial, at least the mating dial. So thanks for watching, everyone. I appreciate the support on the channel. We've had a busy spring thus far. Lots of splits, a few swarms that we had to take care of, both here in the apiary as well as outside the apiary. So we're grateful for all the calls of people that have found bees in their community local to us where we could get them. If we couldn't get to them, we definitely would have picked up the phone or messaged some of our beekeeping partners within the area and the community so they could pass along as well. We'll continue to do videos. Subscribe to the channel, follow along. And we have a new option. It's not really a new option. We just never talked about it before. And that option is becoming a member. It takes a lot for us to maintain this apiary. This is not our full-time job, although it's like a second full-time job for us. So if you're watching this video all the way to the end, do us a favor. Consider subscribing as a member on this channel. You will get exclusive looks to videos before they're released. We have instructional videos that we're going to be in the process of producing that are exclusive to members only. No one else could see them other than our members. You'll also get some other member perks. You can see that in the member section. We'll put a link in the description below. Consider becoming a member of Bohemia Apiary, because for us, well, beekeeping is definitely more than a hobby, and it's an expensive hobby. So we really need that support in the community to keep this going and keep supporting the bees and helping to save the bees, right? Thanks for watching, everyone. Appreciate all the support. And as my friend says, well, she says it's more than a hobby. It's obsession. Thanks for watching, everyone. Oh, hey, I thought you left. I guess you were wondering if this actually got a mated queen back and if our process worked. Let's take a look. All right, so here's the frame, and there's some eggs down in those cells. But look at this over here. Oh, you see her? Beautiful, newly mated Bohemia Apiary queen. Welcome to the family. Well, there you have it. The QueenRightDial mating indicator told us that on the 29th we should have a mated queen with eggs, and we have a mated queen with eggs. This is why we love the Apimaye equipment as well as the QueenRightDial. So make sure you pick your mating indicators up, start making your splits, and see how a simple tool like this can change your apiary operations. Thanks for watching, everyone.